Hello, Fallen Dragonite here today. And of course, we have been waiting for this for quite a while, haven't we? Well, I know I have, but I don't know how many of you are out there that are expecting me to do this or not, but... Okay, enough rambling. Today we are looking at the My Arcade Contra microplayer. This has been something that I have been waiting for quite a while. Ever since, I believe it was 2019 when I found out they had this coming out, and it was kind of a sudden drop all of a sudden where they just said, hey, just so you know, we are going to be opening pre-orders. And then the day after it says, oh yeah, we're going to be doing this on the 4th, so get your pre-order in right away. So basically, I went to Amazon. I was having trouble with their website because it required you to set up an account. The CAPTCHA was just constantly bugging out on me, so I couldn't get into their website. But so I just ordered on Amazon, and I had Amazon Prime. I had the free trial of Amazon Prime at the time, so I just ordered it as a 2-day shipping. I'm gonna just reveal this here. The pre-order period is September 4th through the 11th. Today is now September 11th, the final day of the pre-orders. And this came in the mail today with the 2-day shipping, which is kind of odd because technically these things are not scheduled to be released until the 12th. And yet here it is the day before and I have my hands on it. Well, I'm not going to take a gift. You're not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm also going to point out that I think that the pre-orders are just for those who, well, pre-ordered it and they get the units, and then the retail will probably be sometime later. So there's a good possibility that only those who pre-ordered the units would be the only ones who are going to be getting this unit for the time being. And I'm probably going to be releasing these sometime later down the month. Anyway, we're going to take a look at the box. You can see I already took off the screen protector sticker and just left it on the front of the box. We have the Contra logo. We got Bill and Lance right there on the bottom. Got a brief description about the game there. We got some nice artwork on the side, which is pixel art from the game. There's also some artwork inside the box, which is just some metal paneling. And then finally the back of the box, which just talks about the features and whatnot. Official Contra. In the front of the box just has the official playable My Arcade hologram on it. So now that we're done with the box, let's take a look at the machine itself. Now this is part of their premium line. Now then, what's the difference between the regular microplayers and the premium? Well, the premiums are just a little bit more expensive. For example, the Space Invaders, which was the first premium that they released before this, basically had the plexiglass plate inside the machine. It was quite bigger, more wide in the sense that it has to have that plexiglass in there. It projected these graphics onto the screen, which was accurate to the original arcade machine. This, on the other hand, it basically has the vertical screen. The marquee will actually light up. We'll show that in a little bit. You can also see the reset button's there, and there's also a coin button. This thing actually uses the official arcade ROMs. And I can confirm that because I did play with this before this review. Now then, how accurate is the machine to the original arcade cabinet? Well, I have a picture of the original arcade cabinet here. And it's hard to show on the screen, but as you can see, it's not the original arcade cabinet artwork. All this is pixel based. This artwork here, they are facsimiles of the original artwork, but they're not the original artwork. The control panel has that force detail the original one had. Bevel's black. Some of them were black, some of them were just had the picture on it. You're probably wondering, why did they change it to the pixel art instead of using the original arcade art? I do have a theory about that, and I was watching a video about Mortal Kombat 2, and when I saw that, I remembered something that I forgot about the Mortal Kombat series that explains a gripe I had about the basic fun arcade classics Mortal Kombat machines because they didn't have Johnny Cage on the side of the cabinet. It's because the actor who played Johnny Cage sued Midway because he was denied a bonus. So more than likely they used that generic Scorpion picture from Mortal Kombat 3 on the basic fun arcade cabinet because they didn't have the likeness rights to the actor who played Johnny Cage. I'm guessing this is also the same deal. They just can't get the likeness rights because they were actually photographed actors on the cabinet art and the marquee. So I think that's the reason why we're getting this recreation of the artwork rather than the original artwork on the cabinet. But that also brings up, why did they use the photographs for the Ninja Turtles machines for the Arcade 1-Up and the upcoming Tiny Arcade? Well, that is because, Ninja Turtles is a licensed property, so they probably had a different licensing for likenesses for those kind of things. So maybe the rights were signed over to the company who owns the rights for Ninja Turtles. I think I've also mentioned this before in my Boardwalk arcade of the Ninja Turtles machine. They had the ability to get the original marquee of the pinball machine, but they couldn't get the actual sound effects or whatnot. But yeah. Anyway, that is my thoughts of the explanation about why they're not using the original artwork on the Contra machine. Although it is very nicely done, it does look like a facsimile of the original one. You can see you have the on and off switch down there, which looks a lot more like a coin slot, or the coin trap, which is now what I know the whole thing's called. And as I pointed out, the reset button's right there, the coin's right there. We also have the screw on, screw off joystick. In the back, you have sound up and down. You have the batteries, not included, but I put some in anyway. We have the 5-volt USB, and then we have this little thing right here, which is where I pull this out. This is the link cable for the Co-Versus system. What does it do? Well, part of the reason this is one of their premiums is that you can take this cable, link it up to the back, link it up to another unit, and you can play 2-player. Pretty interesting if I do say so myself, although quite frankly, I'm not really into getting another unit just for the 2-player aspect. Now then, they are making a Contra mini pocket player, which is going to be their handheld versions, which will have Contra and Super C. Considering that it's going to also be running the arcade ROMs, I'm wondering if the pocket player will be compatible with the micro player. So, without further ado, let's actually get some comparisons here. Let's take a look at the original mini player mold, which is, of course, the Bad Dudes I've reviewed before. You can see this is significantly taller. This is a bit bigger. You can kind of see why this is the premium, and this is just this bog standard version. You can also see the coin trap on there is just 2 red bricks, whereas this one actually is more detailed, much like the Namco Museum one they released. And of course, here it is next to one of the basic funds. And as you can see, that thing is much bigger than the basic fun one. Now for size comparisons, I got, of course, this classic standby of Mumra, the ever-living. And yeah, the console is a bit higher, but I think that's actually accurate to what the arcade machine would be, because the console would be near your waist. And that is pretty much near his waist. Next up, let's try some figure arts. I got two on the hand here. I got girl type Ramna. Kind of dwarfed by how wide this is, but the console height is about where it should be. We'll bring out IO here from one of my previous reviews. I'm gonna make sure her feet are flat. She's a bit taller, but not terribly out of scale, if I do say so myself. Now then, let's look at our Reveltech for my Queensway Analette. Again, a bit wide, but perfectly to scale with her. And then finally, we'll take a look at a Figma, which is, of course, Megumin. Now then, she is a bit short for the console, since it's almost a little higher than it was for the others, but she is kind of a small character, so yeah. You also may notice that I took the bases off those characters because I wanted to actually get a good size comparison without the 1/4 inch increment that the base would give it. So anyway, now that we've taken size comparisons into consideration, let's actually turn this thing on and see how it works. As you can see, marquee lights up. My Arcade. Now here is the co-versus system in effect. As you can see, you can switch between single player, play as one player, play as two player. So basically, depending on what you select, will determine who is the first player, who's the second player. But since we don't have another unit, we're just going to hit single player. Let's see, hit coin button to insert credits. We're going to let this play the attract mode for a bit. See? Yeah, that is definitely the arcade ROM. Let's put in a coin. And this is going to be difficult because I'm playing this from behind a camera, so it's kind of reaching behind and trying to play this. Controls are a little tricky to get used to, especially considering I'm playing behind a camera. Yeah, the D-pad has a few issues because it's not as smooth. Yeah, that didn't take too long, did it? Let's turn that off. So yeah, that is definitely the original arcade version, and I can confirm something else. Something that I have seen on a few message boards about a complaint that comes up when the arcade version of Contra comes up, is that the original arcade ROM of Contra has a kill mode. What that means is that once you've put in 5 continues, that's it, game over. It's kind of weird how a arcade game will basically limit how many times you're allowed to continue, despite how many quarters you keep pumping into the thing. There's 2 theories I have about that, really. The first one is more or less, yeah, you know how it really is annoying when people hog the arcade machine. It's probably like a, okay, you've played enough, let someone else have a turn kind of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's one of the reasons. The other reason I would think is that, well, considering I mentioned Space Invaders before, their first premium machine, Space Invaders had a little bit of a urban legend that after the machine was released, there was a very large shortage of 100 yen coins. So I wouldn't be surprised if some arcade games since then had a continue limit, so people won't just keep pumping quarters in the thing and just running the national coin average down. But that's just speculation on my part, so I'm not exactly sure what's the deal with them only allowing you to continue 5 times before they boot you out. But those are reasonable explanations, I think. But only time will... I'm actually not sure if not time will tell, but I'm sure someone has the answer somewhere. Anyway, before we cut out, I'm going to show you the flyer of... There's the 3 premium editions. As you can see, we have the Space Invaders that came out earlier. There's a Contra. And this one, Street Fighter II Champion Edition. And I have seen this in action. This is indeed the arcade ROM again. The buttons are more arcade accurate. It actually has the 8-way controller. And then, of course, on the other side, we have that Contra Pocket Player, which, of course, plays Contra and Super C. Some of the original footage I've seen at certain trade shows also showed it running Hard Corps, but I think they might have been unable to get the license for Hard Corps, so they only were able to get the 2 arcade games. Or maybe there was just some problem with the alternate screen that they need to run these 2 arcade games. But only time will tell again. I definitely wouldn't mind checking out to see if the Pocket Player will be compatible with this for the multiplayer aspect. Because if so, that would be fairly interesting, especially considering that the Pocket Player has Super C. And would that mean if you had the Pocket Player and you hook it up to the Mini Player, then the Mini Player would actually be able to play Super C. Super Contra. Sorry, Super C was the NES name of the game. Yeah, so basically, I do want to know exactly if the Pocket Player actually works with this thing, and if it does, will you be able to play Super Contra on it? But that is all I really have to say for the matter. It's a really nice machine, but the D-pad does have a few issues, at least when you're using it as a joystick. Maybe if you were just using it as a regular D-pad, it would be a little easier to get those diagonals in. Controls feel quite nice. There was something I noticed on my earlier playthrough, is that there was a pixel in the middle of the screen that would just turn gray when I was putting in my high score. And it didn't go away until I started the game again. So that's something you might want to keep an eye out for, is that if you play this, there might be that dead pixel in the middle. But it will go away if you start the game again. So anyway, that is my review of the My Arcade Premium Edition Contra. Hope to see you guys again next video. Bye!